All right. Starting to see some people coming to live. As you come in this live, please share this live with your timeline, please. This is a very, very important topic that I wanted to hop in real quick as far as current news. Please share this with your timelines. Something that is very, very educational that I'm about to discuss real quick. I ain't going to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to discuss this topic real quick on what's going on with these gun laws and this gun control. And this current news that's going on in Virginia that's about to take place in a couple of days. And this is very, very serious. If you're a person that believes in gun ownership, Second Amendment rights, you know what I'm saying, self-defense, martial arts. You can even throw martial arts in there. But the whole basis, if you're a new African or an African black person that believes in gun ownership, this live is for you. I'm gonna get into it real quick on what's going on, because I know a lot of people are not familiar, but this is going on all through the South. You see what I'm saying? But it's being permeated in Virginia, because a lot of people need to understand Virginia, man, and need to understand Virginia's history and how its history pertains to today. Because a lot of laws and a lot of things you see going on today originated here in Virginia. And these laws and these neo-laws that you see today, especially these neo-laws, these new laws, are nothing but disguised laws that are still being promoted through their old laws that are still active today. This is facts. Pure facts. Everything you see in displayed today in modern America is being, how can I put it? It's still being manifested off of what it was started at and where it originated at, Virginia. Like, a lot of people don't understand these Virginia laws and even some of these deeper South laws. Some of these laws, man, and I'm keeping it 100 with you, these laws are still active today, especially these Virginia laws, because we know the Virginia laws started off as black codes and slave code laws, or Virginia slave laws. You see what I'm saying? A lot of the Constitution of Virginia was based off of slavery. And so a lot of the constitutional laws you see today being displayed through the South and any southern state and even northern states, because northern states tend to hide their racism and their slavish laws. But I'm speaking specifically on the southern region and the southern laws, is the fact that Virginia laws are still the basis of laws today. Like when I did the live a couple of years ago, a lot of people didn't catch on when I did the live a couple of years ago on the Casualty Killing Act, which is an act that's still relevant today also. You see what I'm saying? Especially when we're dealing with criminalizing the people and criminal laws, and when we're dealing with the criminal justice system and the social justice system today, and significantly the discrimination and the criminalization laws. You see what I'm saying? That's in place today, that's discriminating against a segment of people, new Africans, black people here in America. And this is more important. This is something that you need to focus on. If you don't know what's going on in Virginia, you need to go check it out on what's about to happen in Virginia with this gun rally that's about to take place in a couple of days. And it's all centered around what I kept telling y'all all last year. When I kept telling y'all all last year when this racist scandal popped off with the Governor Northam, with the blackface thing. You see what I'm saying? I kept telling y'all that this guy is bad news. Democrats and liberals are bad news. Especially racist Democrats, racist liberals. They are bad news to new African black people. I don't care how much you support the Democratic Party and liberals, but you need to keep your eye on the liberals and the Democrats, because they are what Malcolm L. Hodge, Malik Shabazz stated. They are the fox. You see what I'm saying? They do their oppression in the shadows and then be your friend in your face. Governor Northam. I kept telling y'all, when that blackface scandal came out and when all these Virginia politicians were being exposed for their racist views and their racist acts that they have displayed in the past that came back today. You see what I'm saying? And it's still being displayed today. And the most saddest thing about it all is that I'm upset with Virginia. I'm upset with Virginia New Africans, Virginia blacks, because we should have got Governor Northam out of office. We should have got Governor Northam out of office. He is a pure redneck racist, period, with racist motives and agendas that is about to be displayed here in Virginia in a couple of days when this gun rally takes place. And if you haven't been paying attention to the news, it's going to be a real big gun rally here in Richmond, Virginia on the state capitol grounds in a couple of days. It's gun advocates, pro-gun advocates, who are marching on the state capitol to defend our Second Amendment rights to bear arms. You need to, black people, New African people need to pay attention to this. You need to pay attention to this, because out of all people here in America, we should be the main human beings fighting to defend the Second Amendment rights for us to bear arms. Black people. We cannot afford for our guns to be taken or in their political terms, confiscated through racist, discriminating laws that are disguised laws that are targeting a certain people. Now, I'm not the only person that's stating this. You can go ask white European Americans or white European Virginians who are pro-gun ownership, pro-Second Amendment fighters. They would tell you the same thing. They might not do it in the public. They might not tell you in the public, but if you talk to some of these white European pro-gun law protectors, you see what I'm saying? They will tell you that these laws affect the oppressed black communities and the oppressed black people and the New Africans, period. Because we already know how the criminal justice system, the criminal non-justice system is set up to target black communities, New African communities, for the prison pipeline or the prison industrial complex. You see what I'm saying? We know how this affects black communities and black people. Period. And when you talk to some of these pro-gun advocates that are white, they would tell you that these laws are targeting New Africans, black people, and trying to disarm black people. Now, when I get to these, when I get to Senate Bill 64 and what I'm about to read to you, I need you to pay attention very closely and listen to the language in this new bill that's being proposed here in Virginia, coincidentally around the same time that the gun rally is supposed to take place. 2020 is starting off this way with this racist governor who we still let have power and still in office when we should have got this guy out of office. Through the blackface scandal, the racist black scandal, blackface scandal, when he was caught red-handedly with black paint on his face, marking black people in a racist dehumanization way. And then him and his comrades, his buddies from the Democrats and the Republicans started getting exposed for being racist. And all of them was wearing black faces when Virginia was last year, or either the year before that, I believe it was last year, when Virginia was in the news for all these political scandals. Some of the most embarrassing political scandals that happened in the last couple of years was Virginia. Virginia in Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. How about that? How many of you knew that? Virginia was the capital. Richmond was the capital of the Confederate States, the racist Confederacy at one time. So even before the Confederacy, Virginia still was the racist state in America because this is where everything was founded at. Slavery, slave laws, black codes, the criminalization system, the system of race that's predicated on color, black and white, started here in Virginia, Bacon's Rebellion. Bacon's Rebellion, facts. So everything you seeing displayed throughout the empire of the United States of America is predicated on Virginia's old slave colonialism laws, slavish laws. The institution of slavery started here in Virginia. Here in Virginia. The disarming and the targeting of new African black people started with your ancestors in slavery right here in Virginia when they disarmed our ancestors and kept arms out of our ancestors' hands through colonialism and colonial laws that were founded here in Virginia. The first gun control laws, the first racist gun control laws, period, started here in Virginia. Gun control laws to keep Africans disarmed so they can be enslaved and genocided for 400-something years. And they're reorganizing these old colonial laws again and are reincorporating them today to continue to try to control black people and keep black people unarmed. Unarmed. So let me bring you up to speed before I get into the PowerPoint. Bring you up to speed. Virginia governor bans guns from Capitol grounds ahead of rally. Governor Northam says threats include armed militias and weaponized drones. I've been telling people ever since the end of last year that 2020 is the year that you need to keep your eyes open if you're black, new African, here in the Empire of America. Because it's going to start to be a lot of strategic tactics being waged on our people through this political system, whether it's Democrat or Republican. But mainly in the cities that are controlled by the liberals and the Democrats, you're going to start to see the fox come out the shadows. The Democrats. So none of this is coincidental. All this is strategic on the chessboard, aimed at disarming black people. So you need to pay attention to this. And it's going on in other southern states too, like Florida, Georgia. I've been seeing this in the news, and I've been researching this the last couple of months. It's going on in other southern states also with these red flag laws and the Senate Bill 64. Write that down. Write down Senate Bill 64 or SB64, or write down red flag laws and do your research on red flag laws. These are being targeted, and it's no coincidence, because remember, the year before last, the United States government and the COINTELPRO system of the United States of America came up with a bogus discriminatory, I don't want to say law, but a discriminatory tactic called black extremist identity. Black extremist control. And then you seen the first activist or the first black who was legally or illegally locked up under the black extremist COINTELPRO strategy that was aimed at an activist who was, a person who was practicing self-defense amongst his organization and his units and his tribes. You see what I'm saying? So these laws that are about to be initiated is going to constrain and control black people from firearm training, martial arts training, paramilitary training. Listen to what I'm saying. It's targeting all these bases. It's targeting all these bases to strip black people of the right to defend themselves, the right to bear arms, self-defense. It's not a coincidence, people. It's not a coincidence that this is going on. It's not a coincidence. Thousands of people are expected to show up to Richmond, Virginia in a couple of days to protest gun control measures being pushed by this newly empowered Democratic lawmakers in the state legislation. So these pro-gun rights movements, organizations, and black people need to be there also. New African black people need to be at the state grounds in Richmond also. If you're pro-gun ownership, if you're pro-self-defense, you need to show up to Richmond, Virginia in a couple of days when this gun rally takes place to defend black people's rights to bear arms, Second Amendment, and to protest against SB64 and these red flag legislation laws. Because if you don't do that, you're going to start to see slowly, under the red flag law, under the SB64 bill, if it's passed, you're going to start seeing new African blacks being stripped of their gun ownership, their guns getting confiscated, and being targeted with neo-colonial criminalization laws to put more new African and blacks in prison for the industrial prison complex. It's coming. Keep your eyes peeled. It's coming. It is coming. Trust me, it is coming. None of this is a coincidence. The redneck Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, had the nerve to declare a temporary state of emergency of banning all weapons from the Capitol Square ground that include the 18th century State House. His claim is, and this is his claim is officials are aware of a credible threat and potential violence and extremism from out-of-state militia groups and hate groups. How about that? How about that? Somebody who is a racist, somebody who's been caught red-handed as being a racist, is putting out an emergency call, emergency alert, i.e., like in Charlottesville, because he don't want another Charlottesville to take place. This is the strategic tactic that these liberals and these Fox Democrats are using in Virginia. Virginia has some of the most racist Democrats in history. It's in their blood. So he's putting out a guy's alert that he's saying that militias, gun groups, and extremists, hate groups are heading to Richmond, Virginia to start something in Richmond, Virginia behind the gun rally. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This is either going to initiate, listen to what I'm saying, this is going to either initiate either a false terrorist attack, which I already know what they're doing. They're running a white flag operation. You need to pay attention, black people. They're running a operation automatically because this is how the government operates. They're running a white flag operative practice, you see what I'm saying, on the population, on the masses. This is what they do, people. They run secretive operations, practices on the masses to see what works and what doesn't work. So for him to even put that out there in the atmosphere, saying that extremist groups, pro-gun groups, racist hate groups are going to merge and march on Richmond, Virginia state grounds to cause a terrorist attack is a red flag. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. That is the most fascist thing that you can do. Hitler did it when Hitler disarmed his citizens. This is how he took advantage of the Jews and exterminated the Jews by taking their guns at any moment. This is why you got to pay attention to your local government and your state governments, as well as the national government. But you have to pay attention to your state and city government. They are in on your genocide as well. Facts. They are in on your genocide as well. Your local city and state government has to be watched. You have to pay attention to it. They are in on your genocide. And we have one of the most racist commanders and chiefs that's running this state now, Ralph Northam. He's a pure white nationalist who's been exposed. Ralph Northam is a pure white nationalist, KKK sympathizer, who has been caught red-handed and should not be in office now. And now you're seeing the whole Democratic Virginia state start to impose and infringe on our Second Amendment rights with these fake gun control laws that we know is truly aimed at the oppressed population, the minority population, not even the minority population, because Richmond is the new Africans and blacks in Richmond is the majority in this city. It's more blacks that live in Richmond than whites. This is a black city. Historically, from slavery to now, it's a black city. More blacks live in Richmond than whites. So this is why this is not a coincidence, people, to see that they're trying to impose this SB64 bill, this SB64 bill, write that down, and these red flag laws aimed at gun control, because they already know that it's going to be aimed at new Africans, blacks, and disarming them. Just like they disarmed our ancestors in Virginia who wanted to raise up and rebel against the racist power structure. It's not a coincidence. The first gun control laws originated in Virginia. Slave codes, black codes. The Virginia codes are the original racist constitutional laws of the land of America. Virginia. Period. I know this is going to go over a lot of people's heads because our people are not focused on, things like your gun rights and gun control. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why I really wanted to do this live, and I had to do it, is the simple fact we are the people that should be fighting for these laws, because you're the people that were being exterminated in this country for how many years? Over 400 years, and you're still being exterminated. We of all people aren't giving up our gun rights. You have to fight for your gun rights. Like the great ancestor Huey P. Newton said, unarmed people can easily be re-enslaved. And that's all they're trying to do. They're just doing it in a modern, strategic way. All this is predicated on the prison industrial complex and the criminal non-justice system, because it's not a justice system, criminal non-justice system, and the prison to the school to prison pipeline, and the streets to prison pipeline. They have to disarm people they don't trust. White people don't trust black people with guns. They don't even trust white people who are anti-government with guns. and not even necessarily anti-government. These are just white people who practice their rights in the Constitution, like you should do, black people. Like you should do, black people. And let me run into it real quick. And if you look in my description box of this live video, I posted the most important laws back then when it started in 1638. These laws started in 1638, 1640, 1680, 1705, the Virginia Black Codes, the Virginia Slave Codes. You need to study those. When you study those, you will see the same guys' laws still being enforced on oppressed people, black people, brown people today. This is why police murder black people and brown people anytime they want to, because they're still enforcing laws that are from slavery or slavery origin. The Casualty Killing Act is still active. It's a Virginia law, but it's a United States law as well. It's specifically in southern states, and specifically in states that are majority New African black in population. Most cities are populated by blacks and New Africans. They have to disarm you. They have to criminalize you. This is why the Black Panther Party, this is why my elders in the Black Panther Party were fighting so hard for self-defense and the right to defend themselves through the Second Amendment constitutional rights to bear arms. And then they can't remember what happened in Sacramento when the Black Panthers seized the Capitol and Ronald Reagan was on the lawn, and the whole time they were trying to strip the Black Panthers of the right to bear arms and carry arms with the Mulford Act. The Mulford Act is a slave act that comes from the Slave Codes Acts. This is not coincidental, people. The Mulford Act that temporarily stripped the Black Panthers with the rights to bear arms in public places like state capitals, city capitals, things of that nature, certain public areas or government facilities. They initiated the Mulford Act, a racist down south slave code act that originated in Virginia. Facts. And this same thing is being displayed here in Virginia in the next couple of days with this pro-gun rally. And you're seeing that this racist governor, Northam, pulling out racist strategies and laws to disarm people. It's not a coincidence. And this SB64 bill, go look it up. Go look it up. Go look it up, people. Let me break it down to you real quick. This is what's going on now. Virginia Democrats are having a free-for-all in Virginia after their big win this fall. This is from an article that I researched. Democrats are having a free-for-all in Virginia after their big win this fall. Another ridiculous bill has been pre-filed to be printed on January 8th, 2020 that already passed. January 8th, 2020 has already passed. Listen close to what I'm about to say. Virginia Democrats have pre-filed to be printed on January 8th, 2020. SB64. Senate Bill 64, if you don't know what the abbreviation stands for. Senate Bill 64. Outlaws firearms, training, and could impact other groups' sports such as Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, self-defense training. The bill is designed to prohibit paramilitary activities, firearm training. They may use big words, but you got to see through the big words. Paramilitary activity is nothing but firearm training, regular firearm training that you can do with your family every day under your constitutional rights. How else can you learn how to use your firearm if you're not using firearm training or you're doing firearm training? Get it? This is what the SB64 bill is aimed at. It's trying to strip the masses of people constitutional rights to firearm training and martial arts training. You have to pay attention to that. And the main thing that they're aiming at is to prevent black people from practicing self-defense training. This is what this law is aimed at. Black, brown, and poor people. Black, brown, and poor people. To restrain you from self-defense training, firearms training. The same reason they target the other brother with the black extremist identity strategy from the COINTELPRO. They target the guerrilla mainframe, and they target the Huey P. Newton gun club with this black extremist identity crap, which is an old playbook out of the J. Edgar Hoover playbook of the FBI COINTELPRO to keep blacks from owning guns and being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Facts. You have to pay attention to this. Genocide is coming if you're not paying attention to it. The SB64 bill listen to what I'm saying, is designed to prohibit paramilitary activity. But as it stands, it would do a lot more and turn law-abiding Virginians into felons with a snap of a handcuffs. Listen to what I just told you, because these bills affect the low impoverished communities. Period. The communities that the criminal non-justice system is aimed at to make their money off by turning us into criminals and throwing us back into slavery. 13th Amendment, throwing us back into slavery through the 13th Amendment. The criminal non-justice system and the war on black and brown communities are initiated through these slave laws. Because they're nothing but slave laws. Period. You heard what it just said. The SB bill is designed to prohibit military activity, but as it stands, it would do a lot more to turn law-abiding Virginians into felons. Who's going to be the most attacked to be turned into felons? New Africans, black people, which they're already doing through the Bill Clinton crime bill of 1994 and 1995. And also the crime bill of California by the Coon sister, who was all in California, who was just running for president. That's what she was doing on the West Coast, creating slave bills and targeting black and brown communities and locking them up at great proportions for the mass incarceration prison industrial complex. The new Jim Crow, neo-Jim Crow. Period. Listen closely to what's in this bill, the Senate bill that they just pre-filed January 8th, 2020. Listen what's in this bill and listen to the language closely. And this is how you know that it's predicated out of the slave codes, the black codes of slavery that kept arms out of blacks and Indians' hands so they wouldn't rise up against their slave owners and the slave prison industrial complex of slavery, antebellum slavery in the South. Listen closely to the language. I got the slave codes, black codes, in the description of this video. Go back, study them, and listen to this SB bill. Pull it up on your computer, your laptop, or your phone. This is what this law supposed to prohibit. A person shall be guilty of unlawful paramilitary activity punishable as a Class 5 felony. A Class 5 felony. A Class 5 felony. So if you're in Virginia and you're caught with your homeboys or your sisters in the woods or wherever you do your firearm training at, if it resembles any paramilitary activity, they can disarm you and lock you up and take you to jail and give you a Class 5 felony. And what does it take for you to be a paramilitary unit? It only takes 2 to 4 people that are assembling in one area and shooting firearms or doing firearm training. That is considered paramilitary activity by this new law that they're trying to incorporate in Virginia. How about that? Doesn't that resemble the same laws of the colonial times of Virginia? When slaves could not assemble more than 1, 2, 3, or 4 people at one time in a circle. In a circle. That was considered a slave insurrection. That was considered violations of Virginia colonial laws, the slave codes and black codes. If more than one black person assembled in a group together and it looks like you're planning or organizing, you were punished under the slave code laws of Virginia. This is nothing but a slave code law. Listen to it. It's nothing but a slave code law. Modernized. A person shall be guilty of unlawful paramilitary activity, punishable as a class 5 felony if one teaches or demonstrates to any other person the use, application, or making of any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons, knowing or having reason to know or intending that such training will be employed for the use in or furtherance of civil disorder. Listen to the last part. Listen to the last part. Knowing or having reason to know or intending that such training will be employed for the use in or furtherance of civil disorder. Slave insurrections. Slave rebellions. How is Virginia trying to put in law a law that came out of the slave periods of colonial Virginia that was enforced against slave rebellions? Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser. How about that? How about that? Civil disorder or civil disobedience are considered insurrectionary, slave rebellions, slave revolutions. See the coincidence? Virginia is still a slave plantation. It's still a slave state with southern slave laws of the Confederacy. But you got the Democrats and the liberals in Virginia, the Fox, Governor Northam, and his whole KKK political regime trying to reincorporate slave laws in 2020. How about that? Are you paying attention? It's going on all through the South. The states that, that honors the Second Amendment right to the highest privilege. The gun states, southern states, Virginia to Texas. How about that? And this is no coincidence because they know black people are organizing. They know black people are organizing. They know black families are organizing. They're teaching their kids self-defense. They're teaching their kids firearm skills. They're teaching their kids martial arts skills. This is not a coincidence in 2020. Here's another slave law. Listen to this slave code law that they're trying to reincorporate in 2020. This is about what I was just explaining to you about one or more persons in the same surrounding that looks suspicious to paramilitary activity. Listen, assemblies. Number 2 of the SB64 bill. 2, assemblies with one or more persons for the purpose of training with, practicing with, or being instructed in use of any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons intending to employ such training for use in or the furtherance of civil disorder. That's in number 2 in the stipulation. Assemblies. They're saying that blacks or oppressed people, poor whites, brown people, can't have more than one person in one surrounding firearm training. Firearm training. How racist is that, Virginia? How racist is that? That's a slave law. Anytime a state or a city incorporates a law where you can't assemble, if you can't assemble with more than 1 or 2, 3 or 4 people at one time with firearms in the vicinity, that you can be arrested and given a class 5 felony, that's a slave code law. Black codes of Virginia, where it all started. Number 3, they still focusing on assembly. Assembles with 1 or more persons with the intent of intimidating any person, group of persons by drilling, parading, or marching with any firearm, any explosive or incendiary device, or any components or combination thereof. Remember how they put in the slave codes and the black codes of the South to prevent Africans who chose to rise up and be civil disobedient against the capitalist system of slavery, that they disarmed them. They couldn't carry arms, clubs, pickets, hoes, swords, knives. When they assemble, pay attention. You have to study law, new Africans, black people. You have to study law, brothers and sisters. Because once you study the law, you will see the slavery in it. Today, you will continue to see the slavery in it today. Virginia is the prime example. I'm always telling my brothers and sisters, study Virginia laws. If you study Virginia laws, every other state law is easy to comprehend, because those other state laws in Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia are copy laws of the Virginia colonial laws, because Virginia is the first colony of the 13 colonies. This is shit that you have to know, black people. This is what you have to know. And you have a racist governor, Northam, who's trying to re-implement this. And he's a Democrat. Black people love them some Democrats. But you don't even realize the Democrats are strategizing against you to keep you in slavery. And they're at the moment trying to disarm you and disarm Second Amendment right, pro-gun law advocates and gun ownership citizens. They're trying to disarm you. And it's going to start in Virginia first. This is why this is not a coincidence with this gun rally that's about to happen in a couple of days. Pay attention to it. What's the penalty under the SB64 bill? That the provisions of this act may result in net increase in periods of imprisonment or commitment. Slavery. Slavery. This is nothing but a copy of the 13th Amendment. The penalty states that the provisions of this act may result in net increases in periods of imprisonment or commitment. The prison industrial complex, they need to fill the prisons up with blacks and brown people and poor people, but mainly new Africans, black people. They have to increase the population of slaves in prison. Abolish the 13th Amendment. Abolish 21st century slavery. Pay attention. This is where the fight is at. The front lines of slavery. This is modern day slavery, people. The Code of Virginia, the estimated amount of necessary appropriation cannot be determined for periods of imprisonment in state adult correctional facilities. This is all aimed at black folks and poor proportionate people. Therefore, Chapter 854 of the Acts of Assembly of 2019 requires the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission to assign a minimum fiscal impact of $50,000. Let me say that again. What black people and poor people you know can pay $15,000 if you'll get arrested under this bill? Who can pay $50,000? Chapter 854 of the Act under the penalty of Assembly of 2019 requires the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission to assign a minimum fiscal impact of $50,000. Pursuant of 3019 1.4 of the Code of Virginia, the estimated amount of necessary appropriation cannot be determined for periods of commitment to custody of the Department of Juvenile Justice. Juvenile Justice, aiming it at the juveniles of the new African, black, and brown communities. They're coming after your babies. So you need to teach your babies about this. They're coming for your babies. Your babies are good stock and quality for the prison industrial complex. Please protect your babies. Protect your sons. Protect the young black boys. They're coming after them. 2020 is, you're going to see 2020 and beyond, this whole decade, they're coming after new African youth. They're coming after black youth at an all-time high. Because the prisons the prisons are not filling up their cells quicker enough. And they're also releasing a lot of prisoners out of prison. A lot of prisoners are getting pardoned under the crack laws that were unjust. So they're releasing a lot of they're releasing a lot of new Africans and blacks that were locked up unjustly under the criminal crack laws. They're coming home at mass numbers. So they need somebody to replace that number and to replace those beds. Your youth. Your youth. This is why they're coming at us with these colonial gun laws, fake gun control laws, because they're not real gun control laws. They're confiscation laws. The confiscation laws. Study the confiscation laws of colonial slavery. Study them. You have to study the confiscation laws of slavery. They're coming for your youth. They're coming for your youth with these fake gun laws. They're coming at you. I'm telling you. This bill attempts to enact thought crimes. This bill is attempted to enact thought crimes. How is anyone supposed to determine intent? The words knowing or have a reason to know are chilling. According to News Punch, the bill will be widely accepted without realizing the dangers hidden in the language, the wording, slave codes. While the bill could be used to target groups like Antifa, it would take a significant amendments to do it. This is all occurring at the same time. At least 22 counties in Virginia have voted to become Second Amendment sanctuaries. The state appears to be brewing for a fight. That's the SB64 bill. That's in the top of the news right now. SB64 bill. Go look it up. That's targeting firearm training, martial arts training, and self-defense training. Pay attention to it. The brother just got back out of jail. Just got out of jail again under the black extremist identity strategy of COINTELPRO. So it's not a coincidence, man, that all this is taking place under the redneck Governor Northam. Let me run down this before I get off here. Let me get to the real deal before I get off here. Something else you need to be aware of is the red flag laws under gun control laws. The red flag laws that they're trying to implement also in this decade. Pay attention. Red flag laws. Southern states, pay attention. Southern cities, pay attention. Red flag laws are serious threats to our liberty. Red flag laws, also called gun violence restraining orders and extreme risk protection orders, are gun confiscation laws disguised as gun violence prevention laws. So they're really targeting black communities with that right there, because they're trying to say that black people are killing each other, because they're definitely going to throw that in there, these racist Southern Democrats in these racist Southern states, that black people are committing mass amounts of gun violence on each other through proximity colonialism and proximity crime, which in fact, whites are committing more murders on each other just as much as blacks are, or even more, if you determine it under proximity crime, proximity colonialism. The people who live the closest to each other are going to be in the most disputes because you live amongst each other and you're living in extreme conditions that causes violence, economic oppression. So listen to what they're saying. You got to listen to the language. Red flag laws, also called gun violence and restraining orders and extreme risk protection orders, are gun confiscation laws disguised as gun violence prevention laws that are being pushed hard at both the state and federal laws. The VCDL expects to be fighting red flag bills in the Virginia Assembly 2020 right now. Red flag laws are really unconstitutional. prior restraint laws that violate the protections found in the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, the Fourth Amendment, protection against unreasonable search and seizures, the Fifth Amendment, right to due process, just compensation, and self-recrimination, and the Sixth Amendment, right to confront accusers, cross-examine witness, have a public defender. And all of those violations of the Constitution based solely on an unarmed person, secret allegation that someone else might do something dangerous to themselves or others in the future. The state's supposed to punish those who have broken the law, not those who might break the law, because you don't know who's going to break the law. How can you predicate and create laws based off imagination? You don't know who's going to break the law. This is what red flag laws in the SB64 bill is aimed at. Thinking for the people, thinking for our communities on who might commit a crime. You don't know who's going to commit a crime with a weapon. So why would you try to come reimpose Southern colonial laws of the slave codes? If you heard me earlier, running down the slavish laws that they're trying to pass. The person accused of being dangerous has not committed a crime. So how can you put these laws in effect? The person accused of being dangerous has not even committed a crime, has no notice there is a problem until the police show up, pre-dawn with guns drawn, and confiscate the accused firearms. They're coming in black communities to confiscate your arms. Because you're already a criminalized people, New Africans. Chicanos, Native Americans, you're already criminalized people. So these laws are giving them bypasses to come take your weapons and throw you in jail. The accused is not given a due process to defend himself or herself in court from the accusation from weeks or months after the confiscation. It is up to the accused to prove that he or she is not dangerous. How do you prove a negative? How do you prove you're not dangerous? Until such proof is provided to the court's satisfaction, the guns are not returned. This could drag on for months, years, or indefinitely. If a person is too dangerous to own a gun, then why is that person left walking around with the rest of us? Can't that dangerous person still commit suicide or harm others if they have an opportunity? The answer to both questions is that the red flag laws are about confiscating guns, not saving lives. Not saving lives. The government ain't trying to save lives. Why would they be trying to save lives when they're trying to depopulate the population? New Africans, Chicanos, natives, anybody that's non-European. Why would they try to stop something that they're capitalizing off through an industrial complex system? They're making money off of making criminals. They're making money off death in black communities. They're making money off of terroristic acts being displayed. They're making money off of all this, people. This is a capitalist pipeline. They're making money off death, crime, and murder. So if this deceases and all that stops, then how do they get paid? How do they make money off the criminal non-justice system? How do they do it? By disarming black communities. By disarming black and brown people. By disarming poor white people. This is how they make money. And to criminalize you at the same time as they confiscate your weapons, as they take your weapons and throw you in prison and jail with a 5-class felony. We do not want red flag laws in Virginia or any else in America. Please do your research on that. I just wanted to hop on here real quick with some current news to bring it to my people's eyes on what's going on right now with these gun control laws at the top of the year. It's going down already. Going down already, people. They coming at New Africans already. They coming at black people already. They coming at Chicanos already. They coming at poor white people already. Trying to confiscate your guns. Like my big comrade, Haki Kweli Shakur says, aka Monster Cody. The best control is hitting your target. Black people, the best gun control is hitting your target. Self-defense is a human right. Go get your gun licenses. Go get your gun licenses in 2020. If you're not a felon and you can own a gun, go get your gun license now. Go get your gun licenses now. I'm even slipping in that area, but I'm about to get it correct. Go get your gun law license now to carry concealed weapons. Go get your gun license now, New Africans. Go get you some weapons now, New Africans. Of all the people in America, we cannot afford to not have protection. And pay attention to how they trying to incorporate these laws that's aiming at firearm training, martial arts training, and so-called paramilitary training. Pay attention. Pay attention to the gun rally that's taking place in Richmond, Virginia in the next couple of days. It's going to be all on the news if it's not all on your news now. I'm going to sign off on that note, man. Haki Kweli Shakur, man. Free the land by any means necessary and defend yourself at all costs. Free the land.